everybody, I'm Susan and this is my channel, Susan's Road Less Traveled. Another week of no starting my bus, so I have decided to continue on in our reading of our manual, How to Keep Your Volkswagen Alive by John Muir, Chapter 7. And we're just going to parse Chapter 7 as it is relatively long, but I'll pull out those highlights for you. So Chapter 7 is Engine Stops or Won't Start. Engine compartment orientation. Before we try to fix anything or get into detail, let's take a guided tour inside the engine compartment of the various models and assign titles to the complicated hunks of equipment that do things to make the car go. A program, if you will, so you can tell the players by their positions on the team. If you know the names and can recognize the distributor or the carburetor by sight, you can skip all this orientation and pass on up through the chapter to where the work starts, where it says engine stops or won't start. Note, there is deliberately no picture to guide you, as it is semantics of the engine that we are dealing with. The picture you want is your very own engine. I have a Type 2, so that's what I'm going to focus on throughout all of this. So here we go. Type 2 bus. The engine compartment is reached by opening a door in the rear. Push or strike the latch to release, then lift the door. If it doesn't stand up by itself, prop it with a stick. The 1973 and on bus has an additional access lid in the car over the engine compartment. Move the bed, roll back the mat, and there you are, the finest idea any VW access engineer has had. Turn the two handles a quarter turn, lift, and you are looking down at your engine. Hooray! I want one like that. Ignition system. The ignition system is basically the same for all models, indeed for all internal combustion engines. This system is designed to get spark to the cylinders, to burn the fuel, to make the power, turn the engine, the transmission, the differential, and finally the wheels. Look to a little left of the center of the engine and find a brown or black round plastic thing with 5 heavy wires sticking out of it. That's the distributor cap. By the way, front means the front of the car and the driver's side, except in England, okay? That's the left side. Under the distributor cap is the distributor, and inside the distributor are the rotor, the points, and sometimes the condenser, but usually the condenser is attached outside of the distributor. There is a bright metal, about 3-inch biscuit on the side of the distributor with a metal tube or hoses leading out of it. This is the vacuum advance. If you don't have this biscuit, your distributor is a centrifugal advance type. Back to those heavy wires coming out of the distributor cap. These are the spark plug wires, which carry high voltage current to the spark plugs. 2 go to the left, and the other 2 go to the right. On the spark plug end of the heavy wire is a plastic spark plug connector, which screws on the end of the wire. You must never pull on the wire. Always pull on the plastic connector to get the connector off the spark plug. They just push on. Around the plastic spark plug connector is a rubber seal, which keeps air from coming out of the shrouding. These seals must always be in good condition and push into place so as to seal the air in or the engine will get hot. If they are beat, man, make a note to get new ones and put them on. Back to the distributor cap. Find the heavy wire that comes out of the center and follow it to a 2-inch by 5-inch cylinder, which is the ignition coil. The coil is mounted on the fan housing in all models, but the fan housing changes around some, and we'll get to that when we talk about cooling. Anyway, find the coil. It has a center high voltage connection out of which comes the heavy wire to the distributor cap. It also has 2 side connections where smaller wires are either bolted or pushed on. You will find on one side the thin wire that goes from the coil to the distributor. Then on the other side are the wire that brings the juice from the ignition switch, the wire that goes to the automatic choke, and maybe a wire to the carburetor cut-off jet if you have carburetors. In all engines but the Type 4, the spark plugs are way down on the sides of the engine. In the Type 4s, the spark plugs are right on top of the engine. That's the entire engine system for all models. Fuel system. Carbureted models only. Relocate your air cleaner. It is either sitting right on top of your carburetor or to one side of the engine with a big fat hose going over to the carburetor, which is the complicated gizmo with levers and springs in the center of your engine. If you have a screwdriver handy, loosen the little clamp on the top of the carburetor and lift off the air cleaner or the air cleaner connection. In the top of the carb, there is a butterfly valve, the choke, which is either operated manually by a stiff wire coming from the front of the carb to the lever on the side of the carb, or operated by a round thing on the side. See the electric wire going over to the coil, which is called the automatic choke. I don't like the automatic choke on account of it wastes gas, and said wasted gas has a tendency to wear the engine out quicker by washing the oil off the cylinder walls. But I digress. Follow the fuel supply line down and around to the right next to the distributor where the line is connected. This is the fuel pump. There is another connection with a short hose to a metal tube. If you follow it far enough, it goes to the gas tank. This is called the gas line. There are 3 types of fuel pumps, and one has a little bolt to remove the cap to get it at the screen, and one has a screw, and one has 4 screws. And the carburetor is bolted to the top of the intake manifold. And this carries the air-fuel mixture down to the sides of the engine to where the valves are. Under the intake manifold is welded a smaller tube, the heat riser tube, which brings up exhaust gas to heat the air-fuel before it goes to the valves. Depending on the year your engine was built, there are hoses. Simply early, complicated late. We'll discuss them in the order they are added so you can find them on your engine. You might not believe it, but there used to be none. The smog struck and VW put a hose from the oil filler pipe to the air cleaner to take the oil fumes to the carburetor for burning. A lot of complaints were received from cold country people about their carburetors icing up and that it took too long to get the fuel warmed up for burning, which caused the next hose to be installed. It is called the preheater hose and runs from a heater box to the air cleaner again. The preheater hose is the larger of the 2 hoses to the air cleaner. Starting in '63, VW introduced the air cleaner engine, which has 2 fat hoses that come down from the fan housing to the heater boxes to supply air to heat the interior of the car. cooling. And then we'll stop here for today. The Volkswagen engine is air-cooled, and the principle is the same in all models. A fan sucks air and pushes it into the fan housing through the shrouding to cool the engine. The location of the fan in the fan housing is different in different types. Type 1 all years and Type 2 through 1971. Well, that wouldn't go with my car. Type 2, 1972 and later. The fan is the circular thing at the rear of the engine. In the 73 and 74 models, the smog pump belt is in the back toward you. The fan sucks air directly from the engine compartment and blows it into the fan housing. Around the left side of the screen on the fan housing, which goes around the crankshaft fan pulley, are some numbers that are used to time the car. Hanging from the top of the engine compartment is an electric blower, which forces air through those two fat hoses to the heater boxes to warm the inside of the bus, and mine has never worked. Just to the right of the distributor is a short tube with a flat box on top of it, which goes down into the engine. This is the crankcase breather, and there is a hose that takes crankcase fumes to the air cleaner. The oil filler is a tube with a cap and is located to the right rear and back of the alternator. The dipstick comes out of the fan housing inside the oval line made by the fan belt. I think I'm going to stop there today. That's an awful lot of information to absorb. And we'll just keep this one short. But next time, we'll pick up Chapter 7 and discuss the electrical system. Have a great day.